If Jesus Christ appeared before you today, would you recognize him? That's the question facing thousands in Jerusalem right now, as reports flood in of a miraculous appearance of Jesus and angels on the Mount of Olives. In this video, we challenge you to put yourself in the position of those witnesses. What would you do? How would you react? And most importantly, how would you determine if this is truly a divine manifestation or something else entirely? Stay tuned as we explore this mind-bending scenario and test your own ability to discern the miraculous from the mundane. Picture yourself in Jerusalem on a seemingly ordinary day. The sun beats down on the ancient stones of the Mount of Olives, casting long shadows across the hillside. Tourists and pilgrims mingle with locals, their chatter filling the air as they admire the panoramic view of the old city. Little do they know that in mere moments their lives will be forever changed. Suddenly, a blinding light erupts in the sky above, so brilliant that it outshines the sun itself. People shield their eyes, gasping in shock and awe. As the initial flash fades, something truly extraordinary comes into view. A glowing figure begins to descend from the heavens, bathed in radiant light that seems to pulse with life. Eyewitnesses report that the sight was unlike anything they'd ever seen before. The figure appears to be a man, but one of unearthly beauty and presence. As he draws closer, details become clearer. His long, flowing hair cascades down his shoulders, framing a face of indescribable kindness and wisdom. A neatly trimmed beard adorns his chin, and his eyes, oh those eyes, seem to pierce the very soul of every onlooker. The being is clothed in a dazzling white robe that ripples and shimmers as if woven from pure light. It's a garment that defies earthly description, both substantial and ethereal at the same time. But the figure is not alone in his descent. Surrounding him on all sides are what can only be described as angels, celestial beings of breathtaking beauty and power. These angelic figures create a kaleidoscope of color and light, their wings unfurled in majestic splendor. Some appear as fierce warriors, while others radiate gentle compassion. Together, they form a living mandala of otherworldly beauty, with the central figure as its focal point. As the entire group nears the ground, the crowd on the Mount of Olives falls into a stunned silence. Many have fallen to their knees, overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of what they're witnessing. Others stand frozen in place, unable to process the reality before their eyes. The procession comes to a halt, hovering just above the earth. The central figure's feet don't touch the ground, yet he seems more present and real than anything else in the world at that moment. A palpable aura of peace radiates from him, washing over the gathered crowd in waves of tranquility and love. Time seems to stand still as everyone present drinks in the impossible sight before them. The figure's gaze sweeps across the assembled onlookers, and many swear they feel a personal connection in that brief moment of eye contact. It's as if this being knows each of them intimately, seeing into the depths of their hearts with perfect understanding and acceptance. But as the initial shock begins to wear off, questions start to form in the minds of those present. Who is this magnificent being? Could it truly be Jesus Christ, returned as promised in ancient prophecies? Or is this something else entirely? Perhaps a sophisticated illusion or even a deception of cosmic proportions? The implications of either possibility are staggering. If this is indeed the second coming of Christ, it means the end times are upon us and everything is about to change. But if it's not, well, that raises even more disturbing questions about the nature of reality and our place in it. As word of the apparition spreads like wildfire through Jerusalem and beyond, the world holds its breath, waiting to see what will happen next. Will this being speak? Will he perform miracles? Or will he simply vanish as suddenly as he appeared, leaving humanity to grapple with the aftermath of this earth-shattering event? One thing is certain: nothing will ever be the same again. The appearance of this glorious figure on the Mount of Olives has shattered our understanding of the possible and thrust us into a new era of wonder and uncertainty. The only question that remains is, what will you choose to believe? Just when it seemed the spectacle couldn't become more extraordinary, the heavenly figure parts his lips to speak. His voice, they say, was unlike anything ever heard on Earth. But it's the message itself that would leave the world reeling. Are you ready to hear words that could rewrite history? The crowd holds its collective breath, hearts pounding in anticipation. The air itself seems to vibrate with tension as all eyes focus on the radiant being hovering above the Mount of Olives. What words could possibly follow such an earth-shattering arrival? The answer, it turns out, would challenge everything we thought we knew about love, forgiveness, and our place in the universe. As the figure begins to speak, his voice resonates with a power and gentleness that defies description. It's as if the very essence of compassion and authority have been woven together, creating a sound that penetrates to the core of every listener. Those present report feeling the words not just with their ears, but with their entire being. The exact words spoken by the apparition ring out across the hushed crowd. Love one another and understand that forgiveness is the key to the kingdom of heaven. In that moment, it's as if the world stops spinning. The simplicity and profound truth of this message hit home with devastating clarity. As the echoes of these words fade, their meaning begins to sink in. This isn't just a platitude or a feel-good sentiment. It's a call to action, a challenge to transform the very fabric of human relationships. The focus on love and forgiveness strikes at the heart of what many believe to be the core teachings of Jesus Christ himself. Think about it. How often do we struggle with grudges, resentments, and the inability to forgive? This message cuts through all the complexities and distractions of modern life, reminding us of what truly matters. It's a return to the basics, but with an urgency that feels more relevant than ever in our divided world. The parallels to religious teachings are impossible to ignore. Those familiar with the Bible might recognize echoes of Jesus' words in John 13:34, where he instructs his followers to love one another as I have loved you. The emphasis on forgiveness brings to mind Luke 6:37, which teaches, "Forgive, and you will be forgiven." But this message goes beyond simply repeating ancient wisdom. It presents these concepts as the literal key to the kingdom of heaven. It's not just about being a good person or following rules. It's about fundamentally changing how we relate to one another and to the divine. The heavenly figure continues, urging people to unite in compassion and set aside their divisions. He paints a picture of a world where harmony prevails, where love for one's neighbor forms the foundation of all relationships. It's a vision of global transformation that starts with individual hearts and ripples outward to reshape society itself. As the words wash over the crowd, you can see the impact written on every face. Some weep openly, overcome by the purity and power of the message. Others stand in stunned silence, their minds racing as they contemplate the implications. For many, it feels like a wake-up call, a stark reminder of how far they've strayed from these simple yet profound truths. The urgency in the being's voice is unmistakable. This isn't just a nice suggestion. It's presented as a matter of utmost importance. Those present can't help but wonder, is this a harbinger of Christ's imminent return? Are these the final instructions before a cosmic shift that will separate those who truly embody love and forgiveness from those who don't? As the initial shock begins to wear off, a new question forms in the minds of those gathered on the Mount of Olives. Is this truly a divine message, or could it be something else? The cynical might argue that these are simply universal truths that any charismatic leader could espouse. Others might see it as proof positive of Christ's return. What do you think? Does the profound simplicity of this message speak to its divine origin, or does it leave room for doubt? As the world grapples with the implications of this extraordinary event, one thing is certain: no one who heard those words will ever be the same again. The challenge has been issued. The choice of how to respond now rests with each of us. As the crowd grapples with this profound message, an unexpected visitor arrives. A pristine white dove descends from the heavens, its wings shimmering in the ethereal light. Is this merely a coincidence, or could it be the ultimate sign of divine confirmation? The appearance of this symbolic creature adds yet another layer to an already miraculous event, leaving witnesses in awe and skeptics searching for explanations. The dove's sudden appearance creates a ripple of excitement through the already captivated crowd. Gasps and whispers spread as people point to the sky, their eyes widening in disbelief. The bird's pure white feathers seem to glow with an otherworldly radiance, standing out against the backdrop of the Jerusalem sky. As if guided by an invisible hand, the dove begins a purposeful flight towards the glowing figure hovering above the Mount of Olives. The crowd falls into a hushed silence, the air thick with anticipation. It's as if everyone present instinctively understands the potential significance of this moment. The dove's graceful path traces an arc through the air, drawing all eyes to its destination. Eyewitnesses later described the atmosphere as one of profound stillness and anticipation. Many felt that the dove's appearance was a direct sign from heaven, confirming the authenticity of the vision they were witnessing. One observer recounted feeling the air charged with spiritual significance, leading to a collective moment of reverence and awe. The symbolism of the dove is deeply rooted in various religious and cultural traditions, particularly within the context of Christianity. In biblical tradition, the dove is a powerful symbol of peace and the Holy Spirit. This symbolism traces back to the story of Noah, where a dove brought back an olive branch, signifying the end of God's judgment and the restoration of peace. The parallel to this ancient tale is not lost on those witnessing the event in Jerusalem. Many in the crowd immediately draw connections to the biblical account of Jesus' baptism, where the Holy Spirit descended upon him in the form of a dove. The similarity between that pivotal moment and the scene unfolding before them is striking. It's as if history is repeating itself, but on an even grander scale. As the dove nears the radiant figure, the tension in the air becomes almost palpable. Will it fly past? Will it vanish into thin air? The answer comes as the bird gracefully alights upon the figure's shoulder, settling there as if it belongs. The sight of the pure white dove perched on the shoulder of the glowing being creates an image of such beauty and symbolism that many in the crowd are moved to tears. This additional sign serves to deepen the convictions of those who believe they are witnessing a genuine divine manifestation. For them, the dove's appearance is the final piece of evidence needed to confirm that this is indeed a miraculous event of biblical proportions. The psychological impact of such a perceived sign can lead to heightened spiritual experiences among believers, reinforcing their faith and prompting deeper reflection on their beliefs and the nature of divine intervention. However, the appearance of the dove also raises new questions and challenges for skeptics and those still uncertain about the nature of the event. While believers see it as undeniable proof of divine presence, others might search for alternative explanations. Could this be an elaborate hoax, with the dove trained to perform this seemingly miraculous feat? Or is there a natural explanation for the bird's behavior that we're overlooking in our rush to assign spiritual significance? As the world watches and debates, the image of the glowing figure with the dove perched upon his shoulder becomes an iconic symbol of the event. It's a powerful visual that captures the imagination and stirs the soul, regardless of one's beliefs. In various cultures, doves symbolize purity, love, and fidelity, which adds layers of meaning to their appearance in this context, suggesting a universal recognition of their significance in conveying messages of peace and divine presence. But what does this additional sign truly mean for believers and skeptics alike? For some, it's the final confirmation needed to fully embrace the miraculous nature of the event. For others, it's a challenge to their worldview, forcing them to confront the possibility of supernatural occurrences in a world they thought they understood. As the debate rages on, one thing is certain: the appearance of the dove has forever altered the landscape of faith and reason, leaving humanity to grapple with its implications for years to come. While the crowd stands in awe of the heavenly vision, a battle of interpretation is unfolding behind the scenes. How do you discern truth when even the most respected spiritual leaders are divided? The answer might challenge everything you thought you knew about faith and miracles. As news of the apparition spreads like wildfire, religious leaders from around the world are scrambling to make sense of this extraordinary event. Their reactions are as diverse as their faiths, creating a whirlwind of conflicting interpretations that's leaving believers and skeptics alike struggling to find solid ground. In Jerusalem, where the miraculous event took place, local religious figures were among the first to respond. Many immediately declared it a true miracle, seeing it as a fulfillment of ancient prophecies and a sign of the imminent return of Christ. These leaders point to the figure's appearance, the message of love and forgiveness, and the descent of the dove as clear evidence of divine intervention. One prominent rabbi, his voice trembling with emotion, declared to his congregation, "This is the moment we have been waiting for." The Messiah has come to usher in an era of peace and love. We must prepare our hearts and embrace this divine visitation. His words echoed the sentiments of many who believe that the apparition is a direct call from God for humanity to repent, love one another, and follow the path of forgiveness. However, not all religious authorities are so quick to embrace the event as a genuine miracle. Some leaders are urging caution, reminding their followers of biblical warnings about false prophets and deceptive signs. A well-respected imam called for patience and discernment, stating, "While this event is undoubtedly extraordinary, we must be careful not to be led astray. Our faith teaches us to test all things and hold fast to what is good." This divide in interpretation has sparked intense theological debates among scholars and religious leaders worldwide. Some argue that the apparition aligns perfectly with biblical prophecies regarding the second coming of Christ, citing passages from the Book of Revelation and the Gospels. They see this as the fulfillment of God's promise to return and establish His kingdom on earth. On the other hand, skeptics within religious circles point out that the Bible also warns of false Christs and false prophets who will perform great signs and wonders to deceive even the elect. They argue that true discernment is needed now more than ever, echoing the principle found in 1 John 4:1, which advises believers to test the spirits to see whether they are from God. As the debate rages on, the challenge of discerning truth in miraculous claims becomes increasingly apparent. How can one distinguish between a genuine divine manifestation and a sophisticated deception? This question is at the heart of the theological discussions taking place in houses of worship, seminaries, and religious forums around the globe. The varying interpretations are having a profound effect on the faithful. Some believers are experiencing a renewed sense of purpose and spiritual fervor, convinced that they are living in a pivotal moment in human history. They're rededicating their lives to their faith, eager to be part of what they see as a divine plan unfolding before their eyes. Others find themselves grappling with doubt and confusion. The conflicting messages from trusted religious authorities have left them uncertain about what to believe. This internal struggle is leading many to question long-held beliefs and search for deeper understanding of their faith. The situation is further complicated by the instant spread of information and misinformation through social media and global news networks. Believers are bombarded with conflicting accounts, interpretations, and opinions, making it increasingly difficult to form a clear perspective on the event. As the world watches and waits for further developments, one thing is becoming clear. This apparent miracle is testing the very foundations of faith and reason. It's challenging believers to examine their convictions, pushing them to dig deeper into their spiritual understanding and personal relationship with the divine. The question now facing every person of faith is this: in a world where even miracles are met with skepticism, how do you decide what to believe? The answer to that question may well shape the future of religion as we know it. Just when you thought the lines between faith and doubt couldn't be more blurred, enter the scientific community. Their mission? To explain the unexplainable. But as they dig deeper into the event, even these experts find themselves facing a puzzling reality that challenges everything they thought they knew. The miraculous appearance on the Mount of Olives has sparked an unprecedented level of interest among scientists worldwide. These are professionals who typically approach supernatural claims with a healthy dose of skepticism. But the sheer magnitude of the reports coming out of Jerusalem has compelled them to launch a serious investigation into the nature and meaning of the event. As teams of experts descend upon the holy city, the air is thick with anticipation. These aren't just any scientists. We're talking about the best and brightest minds in fields ranging from physics and astronomy to neurology and psychology. Their goal? To apply the rigorous methods of scientific inquiry to a phenomenon that seems to defy natural explanation. The investigation begins with a multi-pronged approach. Experts in natural phenomena scour the area for any environmental factors that could have contributed to the sighting. Theologians and sociologists work side by side, analyzing the recordings and eyewitness reports to understand the cultural and psychological context of the event. It's a collaboration unlike anything seen before in the scientific community. As the initial findings start to come in, even the most seasoned researchers find themselves scratching their heads. The data simply doesn't add up to any known natural explanation. Optical illusions, mass hallucinations, atmospheric phenomena, all the usual suspects are considered and dismissed. The more they dig, the more puzzling the event becomes. One scientist, visibly shaken after reviewing the data, confides, "In all my years of research, I've never encountered anything quite like this. We're dealing with something that challenges our fundamental understanding of reality." The investigation sparks intense discussions about the limits of scientific inquiry when it comes to supernatural claims. How do you apply the scientific method to an event that seems to transcend the natural world? It's a question that's forcing many researchers to confront their own biases and assumptions about the nature of reality. As the world watches and waits for answers, some scientists report truly baffling data readings from the site of the apparition. Instruments designed to measure everything from electromagnetic fields to quantum fluctuations are producing results that defy explanation. It's as if the laws of physics themselves took a coffee break during the event. This unprecedented situation is creating a stark divide within the scientific community. On one side, you have those who remain committed to finding a natural explanation no matter how improbable. They argue that just because we can't explain something now doesn't mean it's supernatural. It just means we need to keep looking. On the other side, a growing number of researchers are beginning to question whether science, as we currently understand it, is even equipped to fully comprehend what happened on the Mount of Olives. They're not necessarily embracing a supernatural explanation, but they're open to the possibility that our current scientific paradigms might be insufficient to explain the full scope of reality. As the investigation continues, one thing becomes crystal clear. The collision between science and faith is creating shockwaves that extend far beyond the realm of academia. It's forcing us all to grapple with some pretty big questions. What happens when the tools we rely on to understand the world come up short? How do we reconcile the measurable with the miraculous? The Mount of Olives event has become a crucible, testing the limits of both scientific understanding and religious faith. As we stand at this crossroads of the explainable and the unexplainable, one question looms larger than all others. Are we on the brink of a scientific revolution that will forever change our understanding of the universe? Or are we witnessing something that truly transcends the boundaries of human knowledge? The answer to that question may well reshape our entire worldview for generations to come. Picture this. A blinding light appears over Jerusalem, and within seconds, the whole world knows about it. Sound impossible? Welcome to the age of viral miracles. But as we're about to discover, when divine intervention meets digital innovation, things can get complicated. It all started with a single tweet. OMG! Something crazy happening at Mount of Olives right now. Within moments, social media platforms were ablaze with eyewitness accounts, blurry photos, and shaky video clips. The miracle in Jerusalem was no longer confined to those physically present. It had become a global phenomenon. As the news spread, it was described as the news that is shaking the world and spreading rapidly from the spiritual heart of humanity. People from all corners of the globe were suddenly united in their fascination with this extraordinary event. But here's the thing. Not everyone was seeing the same miracle. The images and videos flooding the internet were a mixed bag. Many were obscured by the intense light emanating from the heavenly figures, resulting in blurry, indistinct photos that left plenty of room for interpretation. But then there were those surprisingly sharp images, revealing details of the angelic beings that left viewers stunned and skeptical in equal measure. As the event unfolded, the Mount of Olives transformed into a hive of spiritual activity and curiosity. People from all over Jerusalem and beyond flocked to the site, their smartphones held high, eager to capture a piece of the miracle for themselves and share it with the world. It was a scene that perfectly encapsulated our modern age. Ancient prophecy meets Instagram story. But here's where things get really interesting. As the news spread across different cultures and faiths, the interpretations of the event began to diverge wildly. Many saw it as a clear sign of the imminent return of Jesus, their social media posts filled with excitement and calls for spiritual preparation. Others remained cautious, their online comments urging patience and further signs before jumping to conclusions. This diversity of reaction highlights the power and peril of social media in shaping our perceptions of miraculous events. On one hand, it allows for an unprecedented sharing of experiences, creating a global community united in witnessing something extraordinary. On the other hand, it can amplify misinformation, conspiracy theories, and hasty judgments. The Jerusalem apparition quickly became the #1 trending topic worldwide, sparking heated debates in comment sections and inspiring countless memes. Religious leaders found themselves thrust into the spotlight, their statements dissected and shared by millions. Scientists scrambled to offer explanations, their theories spread and challenged in real time across social platforms. As the hours ticked by, a fascinating phenomenon emerged. People's reactions to the event seemed to be deeply influenced by their social media bubbles. Those surrounded by believers online found their faith strengthened, while skeptics found plenty of like-minded individuals to reinforce their doubts. The miracle, it seemed, was as much a reflection of our digital lives as it was a spiritual event. This raises some profound questions about the nature of faith and belief in our hyper-connected world. How do we discern truth when information and misinformation spreads at the speed of light? Can a genuine miracle survive the scrutiny and cynicism of the internet age? For some, the viral spread of the Jerusalem event was a spiritual awakening, a call to reconnect with their faith in a world that often seems to have lost its way. They experienced profound spiritual connections and personal transformations, all catalyzed by a video on their smartphone. Others demanded more evidence, their skepticism fueled by past hoaxes and the ease with which digital content can be manipulated. They scoured the internet for explanations, alternative theories, and debunking attempts, unwilling to accept the event at face value. As the dust settles and the world continues to grapple with what happened on the Mount of Olives, one thing is clear. The way we experience, share, and interpret miracles has been forever changed by the digital revolution. In a world where the divine and the viral intersect, each of us must navigate a complex landscape of faith, skepticism, and the endless stream of information at our fingertips. The question now is not just whether you believe in miracles, but how you choose to engage with them in our interconnected world. As we continue to explore the consequences of this extraordinary event, we're left to wonder, in the age of viral faith, what will you choose to believe? And what if everything you thought you knew about the second coming of Christ was wrong? As we dig deeper into biblical prophecies, we'll uncover shocking parallels and troubling discrepancies that could change how you view this miraculous event forever. The appearance of a radiant figure on the Mount of Olives has ignited a firestorm of speculation. Could this truly be the long-awaited return of Jesus Christ? Or are we witnessing the greatest deception in human history? To answer these questions, we must first examine the biblical prophecies that have guided believers for centuries. The Bible speaks of Christ's return as a moment of unparalleled glory. Matthew 24 describes Jesus coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. At first glance, the recent apparition seems to tick all the boxes. Eyewitnesses reported a resplendent figure descending from the sky, surrounded by beings of light. The parallel is undeniable, and for many, it's all the proof they need that prophecy is being fulfilled before our very eyes. But here's where things get complicated. The Bible also warns of false signs and wonders that will precede the true second coming. These deceptions, we're told, will be so convincing that they could potentially fool even the most devout believers. It's a sobering reminder that not everything supernatural is necessarily divine. So how do we separate truth from illusion? The challenge lies in the very nature of faith itself. Those who believe they've witnessed the return of Christ describe feeling an overwhelming sense of love and peace, emotions that are difficult to fake, but also hard to objectively measure. The presence of a dove, often associated with the Holy Spirit, adds another layer of seeming authenticity to the event. Yet we can't ignore the possibility of a sophisticated hoax or even mass delusion. History is littered with examples of false messiahs who've led countless followers astray. These movements often begin with seemingly miraculous events that capture the imagination of believers. The psychological impact can be profound, leading to shared experiences that feel undeniably real to those involved. In our modern age of advanced technology, the line between divine intervention and human deception has become increasingly blurry. Could this apparent miracle be the work of hidden projectors, holographic technology, or some other form of elaborate stagecraft? While it might seem far-fetched, we must consider all possibilities when the stakes are this high. The consequences of either accepting or rejecting this event are monumental. If this truly is the second coming of Christ, then those who dismiss it risk turning their backs on the very salvation they've been promised. On the other hand, if this is a deception, those who embrace it wholeheartedly may find themselves led down a dangerous path of false belief. Scholars and theologians remain divided on how to interpret what's happened. Some view it as the genuine fulfillment of prophecy, while others urge caution, citing biblical warnings about being too quick to accept miraculous claims. This division within the religious community only adds to the confusion for those seeking guidance. As we grapple with these questions, it's important to remember that faith has always required a leap beyond what we can see and touch. The challenge now is discerning where that leap should take us. Are we being called to embrace a new era of divine revelation, or to stand firm against a tide of deception? In the end, each of us must decide for ourselves what to believe. But as we make that choice, we should consider not just the immediate impact on our individual faith, but the broader consequences for society as a whole. Will this event usher in a new age of spiritual awakening, or deepen the divide between believers and skeptics? The answer may well shape the future of faith and reason for generations to come. As the dust settles on this extraordinary event, we're left with a world that's unrecognizable from just days ago. The apparition on the Mount of Olives didn't just shake the foundations of faith, it's rewriting the very fabric of our society. But amidst this spiritual revolution, a startling question emerges. Are we witnessing the dawn of a new era, or the twilight of reason itself? In the immediate aftermath of the heavenly visitation, the world seems to be holding its breath. Streets once filled with the hustle and bustle of daily life are eerily quiet as people grapple with the implications of what they've witnessed. It's as if humanity collectively pressed pause, trying to make sense of a reality that no longer fits neatly into our previous understanding. But this stillness is merely the calm before the storm of change that's about to sweep across the globe. As the initial shock wears off, we're beginning to see seismic shifts in how people view their place in the universe. The message of love and forgiveness delivered by the celestial being has sparked a wave of introspection and self-examination on a scale never before seen. Churches, mosques, and temples are overflowing with both longtime believers and those who never considered themselves religious. People are hungry for answers, for guidance, for a way to reconcile what they've witnessed with their understanding of the world. Religious leaders report a surge in baptisms, conversions, and recommitments to faith. It's as if the veil between the physical and spiritual worlds has been torn away, leaving many to confront the reality of their beliefs in a new and profound way. But it's not just individual faith that's being transformed. We're seeing a radical reshaping of religious practices and traditions. Denominations that once stood firm on centuries-old doctrines are now re-examining their teachings in light of this new revelation. The emphasis on love and forgiveness as the key to the kingdom of heaven has led many to question long-held beliefs about salvation, judgment, and the nature of God himself. Perhaps most surprisingly, the event has sparked an unprecedented era of interfaith dialogue and cooperation. The universal nature of the message, transcending any single religion, has opened doors for communication between faiths that were once locked in centuries of mistrust and conflict. We're seeing imams, rabbis, and priests standing side by side, united in their quest to understand the implications of this shared experience. Yet, as with any great shift in human understanding, this spiritual awakening is not without its challenges. For every person who's found renewed faith, there's another whose skepticism has only deepened. The scientific community remains divided, with some researchers embracing the possibility of supernatural phenomena, while others double down on their search for rational explanations. This tension between faith and reason is playing out on a global scale, reshaping everything from personal relationships to international politics. Families find themselves divided, with believers and skeptics struggling to find common ground. Nations grapple with how to respond to an event that defies traditional diplomatic and military paradigms. As we navigate this new landscape, one thing becomes abundantly clear. Our quest for meaning in a world of mysteries is far from over. If anything, the apparition on the Mount of Olives has only deepened our hunger for understanding. We find ourselves asking questions that once seemed beyond the realm of possibility. What is the true nature of reality? How do we define the boundaries between the natural and supernatural? And perhaps most importantly, how do we live in a world where the miraculous has become tangible? The impact of this event on the future of faith and reason cannot be overstated. We stand at a crossroads, faced with the challenge of integrating this new experience into our understanding of the world. Will we emerge from this crucible with a deeper, more nuanced appreciation for both the spiritual and the scientific? Or will the divide between believers and skeptics only grow wider? As we grapple with these questions, one thing is certain: the world will never be the same again. The appearance of a heavenly figure on the Mount of Olives has forever altered our perception of what's possible. Whether this leads to a new age of enlightenment or plunges us into an era of uncertainty remains to be seen. But one thing is clear: the journey ahead promises to be the greatest adventure humanity has ever undertaken. The Jerusalem event has undeniably changed our world, leaving us with more questions than answers. Whether you see it as a divine miracle or an unexplained mystery, its impact reverberates through every facet of society. The search for truth continues, pushing the boundaries of both faith and reason. As we grapple with this new reality, each of us must decide what to believe. Will you embrace the possibility of the miraculous or seek rational explanations? Your choice will shape not only your personal journey, but also the collective future of humanity. In the end, this extraordinary event has sparked a global conversation about the nature of divine intervention in our modern world. It challenges us to reflect deeply on our beliefs, our understanding of reality, and our place in the universe. Whatever path you choose, one thing is certain: nothing will ever be the same again.